I've decided to do a new series on how to best use the pretty much every team in the game, going through modding, counters, what they can counter, stuff like that. So I'll start with Gas because he's he's the meta right now. You want your meta teams to be modded properly, and I also have heard that a lot of people have had trouble beating Darth Revan teams, so I'm going to share a little bit of strategy regarding that. I actually don't have a Darth Revan team at the top of my chart right now, so I'm not going to be able to show that in video, unfortunately, but I'll touch a little bit on the strategy. So going to modding, Gas is the most important. Because of course he's the leader, he's what makes the team click. For modding, you want to focus on three things: offense, protection, and potency. Protection because he gets 15% bonus protection from each 501st ally, which means he gets 60% bonus protection, which means that he will spend as much time possible advancing and not being into cover here. And offense because Gas is probably the one in the team that's going to do the most damage, so you want to take advantage of that and maximize his damage output. And potency is because it makes the CLS counter. That is still, in my opinion, the best counter for Gas, even though a lot of people have said that it does not work anymore after the buff that Gas got to his counters a couple weeks ago. It still does work very well. It just needs a little tweak in strategy. So let me know if you want me to make a video on the CLS team, and I'll do that happily. But yeah, so you want the potency to have as high of a chance as you can to apply daze on Chewie, because if you get daze on Chewie, that team is done. They are done for, especially if they're using 3PO and not Wat Tambor. If they're using Wat Tambor, he can cleanse on his basic, so they can still beat you, but if they're using 3PO, you're just screwed if Chewie gets dazed. Which is why potency is so huge. So as you can see, you don't want any health on him, especially when you're going up against Darth Revan Malak teams. Because Malak, his drain, of course, does damage based on your maximum health, so you want to have the least amount of that as possible, so his drain does the least amount of damage possible. Again, you want to go on heavy on protection on him and heavy on offense, as you can see. Crit damage is also very good because he increases everyone's cooldowns whenever he crits, so if you can get some secondaries here and there, that would be amazing. And yeah, potency, of course. I only have a potency set here. If you can get some secondaries, of course, don't bother yourself with it if you don't have it. But if you do have some lying around on like offense mods, try to get those mods in. Speed, like most of the 501st team, besides Rex, they don't really need a lot of speed. 240 to 250 is perfect for him, because Rex's unique actually gives everyone a 20% bonus speed. So he's actually going to be way faster than this. I think he comes at around like, what, 260, 270 speed with what I have on him right now, which is actually very good. And last but not least, you really want a crit damage triangle on him, because that is what maximizes his damage. Now, on the mod itself, as I said, I recommend an offense set with potency offset. Of course, you want protection on the circle, crit damage on the triangle, speed here. These two don't change their primaries. And here, the cross is the only one that you can actually swap for two different things. You can either run protection if you're like me and you don't have very good protection secondaries on your mods, but if you're someone that does have a lot of good protection secondaries, you can actually run on offense cross here. So if you can get like 100k protection with an offense cross, that in my opinion is the best way to go. If not, you can run the protection cross like I've been doing, and that works just fine as well. Now on to the next 5 of first character, which is 5s. There's two ways to mod 5s, either heavy offense or heavy defense. I prefer the heavy defense because heavy offense is only good when you're using them on offense, whereas heavy defense makes it more difficult for opponents to beat your team when you're using it on defense. I know a lot of people, a lot of guilds actually don't use it on defense and territory war. We don't either. And in GAC it's actually pretty rare, but still some people do use gas on defense in GAC, which having 5s modded this way could make the difference between a loss or a win, especially against the CLS team. If they're going to mirror it, then it doesn't really matter because mirrors with gas are super easy. But if they're using a counter, having 5s modded for offense, for defense, sorry, not offense. Offense is completely worthless when the team is on defense. Having him modded for full-on defense is the best way to go, because for starters, he has the highest base defense in the game. So if you add on that, you can actually get him to huge amounts of defense. Mine is only R6, and he has 77% defense, which means that any character that does not ignore defense, that will be attacking him, is going to do a quarter of the damage that he would actually do, which is absolutely huge. It is huge to be preventing 3/4 of incoming damage. Offense, again, it is good because he's going to give it to the other clones once he sacrifices. So having him modded for decent offense is good. So if you can get some secondaries on your defense mods, that's perfect. But don't go putting offense sets, offense crosses, offense triangles on him, or even offense offense arrows. Don't do that. It maybe helps for offense on when you're using the team on offense, but it does not help when you're using the gas team on defense. Yeah, so health protection. I prefer to go for protection because I think you can get a little bit more of it still than health, and also it prevents Malik gaining huge amounts of health if he ever decides to drain 5s. It usually never happens. He always goes for one of the other 3 clones, but it's just a safety mechanism. And speed, you still want decent speed because speed is the other stat that he will be transferring to the other 3 clones once he sacrifices. So having him at around plus 100 is a good benchmark in my opinion. Now Rex, you only need one thing on him, and that is speed. And even that, you don't need it at ridiculous amounts. You really want him at around 290 to 300 speed. 300 is really the sweet spot in my opinion. Anything over that, it's really overkill because he does get plus 20% speed from his unique, as I mentioned earlier. So having him at 300 speed means that he's actually 360 speed. There is no other team that can, except God mods, that can outspeed a 360 speed Rex. So you really don't need more than 300 speed on him. As I said, anything else, it really doesn't matter. You just want speed. Echo is one of 3 characters you want to maximize offense on. the three characters, as you have guessed, are Gas, Echo, and Arc, because we've discussed the other two claws, and they do not need offense. So yeah, you want full-out offense on him, but there's two ways to go for Echo. You can either go an offense set or a crit damage set. I went with offense because my crit damage sets are not as good, but if you have a very good crit damage set, you can go with that. That's absolutely fine. It may actually even be better because it's actually better in cases where you're not using Echo under Gas and you're using him under Shock T, for example, in Light Side GOTB. But for the Gas team itself, it doesn't really matter to have him modded for offense or crit damage. So just go with whatever you have best. On the offset, you can go for pretty much whatever. Potency is again something that I do recommend because it makes his EMP grenade more reliable to stun droids, which means it has a higher chance to stun those pesky droids that do huge amounts of damage in light side GOTB. For arena and PvP, it really doesn't matter that much, but if you're like me and you hate mod swapping, having him modded this way with the potency offset would just make him better all around, and you wouldn't need to swap his mods for light side territory battles. So yeah, you don't really need to focus on any stats. Speed again, plus 100, plus 90, that's a sweet spot. You don't really need more, you don't really want less either. You want a crit damage triangle on him. Mine is not 6C. I'll have to do that pretty soon. And offense. Offense, he does both types of offense. He does physical damage on his basic and special damage on his grenade, so both are going to be very high. A benchmark for an R7 Echo for me would be around 11,000 special damage and 7,500 physical damage. Mine is R6, so it's a little bit lower than that, but you can get where I'm getting at. And another thing is, you do want some crit chance on him if you can get it. If you can't, don't bother yourself. It's just that his since his grenade does special damage attacks usually have a far higher crit chance than physical damage attacks. As you can see, his special crit chance is only 19.84%. He does get 20% for him and every other 501st ally from his unique, but that still only puts him at 60%, which is kind of low, especially considering that some people do mod their gases and their 5s with a crit avoidance triangle, which makes it even less crits from your Echo, but that's only in mirror matches. Arc, again, you want to go full out offense on him. Two stats that are important: offense, most important; speed, also pretty important, because he is actually the fastest base speed in this team. He has 177 base speed compared to Rex, who has 160. So having him decently fast is actually very good, because the faster than he is, the more assists you're going to get from the turret, which means the more damage output that you get. And again, it's really not hard to get him super fast. As you can see, mine is plus 93 and he's at 270 speed. Some of you guys have definitely better mods than me, so getting him at around 280, 285 is really not that hard. I would shoot for that. Besides that, if you can get a crit damage triangle on him, it is very good. I didn't have a good crit damage triangle left, so I went with offense, but if you have the crit damage, go with that. That's probably a little bit better. Offense, he does physical damage. You want to max that out. Mine is R6. If it were an R7 Arc, you would want him to have around 10,000 to 10.5k offense, and that's pretty much it. His offset for him really does not need to be anything. He doesn't do any debuffs, so potency is worthless. He should do tenacity if you want, but it doesn't really do much at lower levels. I just went with HP because it's kind of the most basic that you can get. And that's that. So now that we've discussed the mods, what can this team beat? Well, it is the meta, so it can beat everything that we have in the game right now. The most difficult time you'll have beating a team will be against Darth Revan, and that's what I want to touch up on. Again, as I said, I unfortunately do not have a Darth Revan team in the top of my arena share right now that I can beat. So I can't have like a video commentary for you. I might just do a separate video on that if I do find a Darth Revan team in my GACs or at the top of my arena at one point, but it won't be today. But I can still touch up on the strategy for it and how to use your moves the best. So usually, well, not usually, always, your Rex will be going first. If he doesn't go first, you're screwed. So, which is why you need him to be somewhat fast, 300 speed, perfect. There's pretty much no Darth Revan that's going to be 360 speed or higher. So you're at 300 speed Rex, you're perfectly good. He's going to use Form Up and boost everyone's turn meter to full. Now, against Darth Revan, there is a way that you can actually mod gas to be just a little bit slower, so he doesn't actually get full turn meter. He gets like 99%. So all the clones go before him, clear like the taunt from Trooper, the foresights from Bastila Shan's unique, so that when gas does go, he will crit everyone from his AoE days and increase the whole enemy team's cooldowns by 1, which is actually huge. The best way to lose is having Darth Revan fear your whole team on his first turn. If you can avoid that, you're increasing your chances by a lot, and that is what you need to be doing. It's still very consistent even if you don't have gas modded that slow, because it's actually very slow that you need him to be. So my Rex is at 290. 290 multiplied by 1.2 for his 20% bonus speed puts him at 348. Form Up gives 30% turn meter to any non-clone allies. So you want your gas to be at 70% of Rex's speed. So now I'm going to multiply 348 by 0.7, which gives me 243.6. However, as you saw, my gas was 243, but that 243 is after Rex's 20% bonus speed. So my gas would need to be then in this case you would divide the speed that you got from multiplying Rex's speed by 0.7, you would divide that by 1.2, and you would get, in my case, you would get 203. So my gas would need to be 202 speed to not get full turn meter from Rex, which is why you can probably see why I don't like running my gas that way, because it requires him to be incredibly slow, which is kind of you shooting yourself in the foot against every other team, against mirrors, against GG if you're ever going to use that. You're just shooting yourself in the foot from having him that slow, which is why I prefer the fastest way, the faster modding way, and it still works pretty fine. I've never lost with him against Darth Revan once I geared up the whole team. Yeah, so that's the second way you can mod him. That way he goes after Echo and Arc and they clear the taunts and the foresights, but you can still win nonetheless. The important thing is you use Fives' assists on gas when gas is still in advanced mode. If gas is in cover mode, you never use Fives special because you don't want him to taunt So he sacrifices, and one of the other clones dies, and they all go. They get crazy huge offense and speed, so they can just dismantle the enemy team. I completely forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yeah. So strategy. You want to use the 5's assist on Gas because that's what does the most amount of damage. You also want to give the Arc command buff to Rex. I see a lot of people give it to what's this thing? To Echo. That is completely worthless because, contrarily to Arc, where if Arc attacks out of turn, the turret assists him, that is not true for Echo. So giving it to Echo will only have the turret assist him when it is on his turn, which is the same as having it on 5's or Rex. So why would you put it on Rex? Well, simply because Rex is the fastest on your team, which means that he will get the most turns, which means that you will get the most amount of assists from the turret, therefore maximizing your damage output. So you should always put the turret on Rex, no matter what the team that you're fighting. That's something to keep in mind. Now, this is a few tips. Another tip is the kill order. This is the Sith Empire team. Usually it's going to be these first 4 and one of either Marauder or Trooper. You always want to kill Bastila first, because Bastila with her Corrupted Battle Meditation is going to decrease Gas's counter chance from 100 to 70%, because Gas's Jedi only gets reduced by 30% and not 60%, but it also decreases his counter chance. Sorry, not counter chance, crit chance. So he might not get to crit and increase cooldowns, which is bad. You want him to increase cooldowns on the enemy team, and you also want him to counter, because his counters do huge damage. So you really want to get Bastila out as soon as possible, preferably before she even takes a turn. And hopefully the strategy I discussed with having 5's called Gas to assist on her, and also having Arc put the command buff on Rex, it will help. Again, I'll probably do a video showing the battle another date when I see a Darth Revan team I can fight. But for now, this is the best I can do, unfortunately. So yeah, you want to get BSF first, ideally before she takes a turn. If she does take a turn, it's not a big deal, but you do really want to kill her before Gas goes into cover. That's the only thing that you really want to make sure that you do. After BSF is down, you want to go after HK, in my opinion, because HK is the other one that's going to do a lot of damage, especially with his assassination protocol. This thing, because it does double damage against Jedi, and what is Gas? He's a Jedi, so it's going to do very high amounts of damage to Gas, and you don't want that to happen. So you're going to get HK out. If it's Trooper, you can really leave him for last. He's kind of worthless. He doesn't do anything. He just sits there and taunts a few times, but you can always clear it with either Rex or Arc from having the turret assist, or from Echo's grenade. So he's really not an issue. If Marauder is there, again, he doesn't do as much damage here because your team will not have a lot of debuffs on it, because you get the tenacity up from Rex's form up. So he's not a super big threat, but you can go for him after HK. Plus he's very squishy, so he's really easy to kill. Like one basic from gas and he's dead. After that, it's only Darth Revan and Malik. Together, they can't really do much against you. Malik is super easy to beat for gas. However, I would still go for Malik before Darth Revan, because Malik can still be annoying. If it does happen that it's gas versus like Malik can still win. Usually your gas is going to come out on top, because over the course of battle until that point, he will have reduced Malik's health by enough that he can kill Malik before Malik kills him, but it's still safer to go for Malik before Darth Revan. Darth Revan is very squishy without Bastila, so he will really not be a problem for you. The only annoying thing about Darth Revan is his shock, but you can't really avoid it, so you just have to deal with it. And what can beat now? What can beat gas? You have two teams. We have the Rebels with CLS, the trio, Old Ben, and either 3PO or Wat Tambor. I prefer 3PO. I never got the Wat Tambor team to work. And yeah, contrarily to what everyone has said, this team can beat Gas even after the buff that Gas got to his counters. So it still works. I'm not going to go into detail. I'll probably make a video on this, as I said before. But yeah, this is one of the teams that can beat Gas. So if you're going to go for Gas on defense in GAC, check if your opponent has this team geared and modded properly. Another team that can beat Gas is Galactic Republic, Padme. My Padme is not going to beat it, because contrary to CLS, the Padme team actually needs a lot of good mods and a lot of gear. As you saw, my CLS has 2 gear 12s and it can beat Gas. The Padme team needs everyone to be gear 13, and I think our 4 is a good place for them to be tanky enough so that they do not get destroyed. So the team is Padme, Grandmaster Yoda, Jedi Knight Anakin, General Kenobi, and Ahsoka. But again, as I said, it needs very good mods, because you need Grandmaster Yoda at like 330 speed. You need Padme to be very fast as well, and GK also needs to be decently fast. I'm not very familiar with the strategy on this team, but it is a counter that a lot of people use, so if your opponent has this team, maybe don't put Gas on defense. So that does it for the Gas, the 501st guide. Let me know which team you want me to do next. I'll probably do CLS, but if you guys want to see another team, I'll do that one before CLS. So just let me know what you guys want to see next, and I'll do that one for you. If not, well, you can also leave me any questions that you have regarding the 501st team, and I'll be happy to answer. And as always, until next time.